part 2 of Dungeons and Dragons Player's Handbook 3.5. So, one of the things I took from the Celts Book of Second Edition was this idea of feats, which the feats are a mixture of things that some of them were taken from the Celts book, but more of them were taken from the non-weapon proficiencies and the key powers and the powers that certain classes could do. Only that class could do it. Now it's a feat that any class can learn. So let's go through these. There's a bunch of them. There's acrobatic, agile, alertness, animal affinity, armor proficiency, light, armor proficiency medium, armor proficiency heavy. You couldn't just put on a suit of armor and wear it. You had to be proficient in wearing that armor. Athletic, augment summoning, blind fight, combat casting, combat expertise, improved disarm, improved feint, improved trip, whirlwind attack, combat reflexes, deceitful, deft hands, diligent, dodge, mobility, spring attack, endurance, die hard, eschew materials, exotic weapon proficiencies, extra turning, great fortitude, improved counterspell, improved critical, improved initiative, improved turning, improved unarmed strike, improved grapple, deflect arrows, snatch arrows, stunning fist, investigator, iron will, leadership, lightning reflexes, magical aptitude, martial weapon proficiency, mounted combat, mounted archery, ride-by attack, spirited charge, trample, natural spell, negotiator, nimble fingers, persuasive, point-blank shot, far shot, precise shot, rapid shot, mini shot, shot on the run, improved precise shot, power attack, cleave, great cleave, improved bull rush, improved overrun, improved sunder, quick draw, rapid reload, run, self-sufficiency, shield proficiency, improved shield bash, tower shield proficiency, simple weapon proficiency, skill focus, spell focus, greater spell focus, spell mastery, spell penetration, greater spell penetration, stealthy, toughness, track, two-weapon fighting, two-weapon defense, improved two-weapon fighting, greater two-weapon fighting, weapon finesse, weapon focus, weapon specialization, greater weapon focus, greater weapon specialization. And then there are some that are for wizards, things like brew potion, craft magic arms and armor, craft rod, craft staff, craft wand, craft wondrous item, craft forge, scribe scroll. And there's things that only affect how you cast your spells, like empower spell, enlarge spell, extend spell, heighten spell, maximize spell, quicken spell, silent spell, still spell, widen spell. So that's a lot of feats, a lot of things to keep track of. And one of the side effects of this many different feats is when you're playing and you encounter something, the players will look down at their sheet because I have all these different abilities to try to figure out which ability am I going to use this time. So when I play 3.5, I tend to pick feats that work silently. Things like, there's 3 different feats that improve your saving throws, and I just take those, and then I have good saving throws, and I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to worry about which power am I going to use. And another thing that's changed about this, it used to be, if you wanted to make a magic device, you had to throw time and money at it. It costs a lot to make it. It took a lot of time to do it. But now you have to use experience points to do that. Experience points you could have used to level up. So I'm not sure why anybody would do that. The meta magic feats make it really hard for the DM to run this because there are too many variations about what the spell might do. You know, it's already, there's hundreds of spells, So it goes into here to describe these. Yes, so a lot of these were things that certain classes could do. And now every class can do them if they take that feat, like Whirlwind Attack. So it goes a bit into spells, into the religions, the vital statistics, the equipment. Let's take a look at the equipment. We've got some pictures. And here's a list. One thing is that guns have been taken off the list. There's no arquebuses or wheel-lock pistols. And the number of polearms is greatly reduced from first edition, but there still are some named ones, but the Rensur no longer has the ability to disarm people. So there's some more pictures of the different weapons. Some of them are really weird fantasy weapons I made up for this game. I think every race has some sort of weird weapon that only their race can easily use. The armor, as said, you can't just put on a suit of armor. You have to be proficient in using light armor or medium armor or heavy armor. And the kind of armor you wear interferes with your dexterity bonus to armor class, which is, I guess that's sort of realistic, but I didn't like it. It was easier just to add that. There's pictures of the different kinds of armor. I never quite understood the difference between split mail and banded mail when I was playing first edition. They both had the same armor class. And some different goods and services. One thing that is different, or one thing that has changed its name. In Oriental Adventures, you had this thing called a weapon of quality, or armor of quality, and it was +1. Weapon of quality was +1 to hit only, unless it was a ninja weapon, in which case it was +1 on damage. And it was non-magical. You just had to pay 10 times as much for it. And they have this, only it's called Masterwork instead of quality. And you can make Masterwork sock puppets if you like, which I had a character have that. DM laughed out loud and asked, "Can I have a Masterwork sock puppet?" And so we got all these different actions in combat. And some of this is because of the feats. And some of it is, it used to be you could automatically do stuff, and now there are rules about how you can do it. And some of this comes from a book that came out in second edition called Battle System Skirmishes. And the rule that I hated most about that book was something called Attack of Opportunity. I hated that rule. Okay, but yeah, so the way this is written, the whole 5-foot set. Another thing that they changed is the grid system. TSR games all had a 10-foot grid that you would move on. The movement rates were based on 1 inch is 10 feet, and now it's 5 feet, which is much more complex math. Doing it in base 5 instead of base 10, it's not that hard, but it's a little more hard. And trying to do it in the top of your head real quick, it can sometimes foul you up. Yeah, so it goes into a bit of adventuring. I continued to use my first edition DM's Guide when I was running 3rd edition because it's the best role-playing book ever written. Now we get into spells. Each class, if they can do a spell, has their own spell list. And this includes 0 level spells for every class. So some of the 0 level spells used to be 1st level spells like Detect Magic and Detect Poison, Read Magic. And some of the spells have been renamed. We got domain spells for clerics, like air, animal, chaos, death, destruction, earth, evil, fire, different domains. Paladins don't get 1st level spells, neither do don't get 0 level spells. Okay, so sorcerer and wizards have the same spell, and they're divided on schools in case you want to be a specialist in one school. But yeah, some of the 1st level spells are now 0 level. Detect Magic, Read Magic, Detect Poison, Dancing Lights, Prestidigitation. Alright, one thing that's changed about this edition is clerics are now limited on how many times they can turn undead. Which, I'm used to the TSR versions of the game. So at one point I was playing an old school game with a bunch of new school players. And they were being overrun by an army of skeletons. And one of the players kept telling the cleric, no, the cleric wanted to turn them, and the other player said, no, don't do it, because he's only a 1st level cleric. And this went on for about half an hour before suddenly me and the players came to a realization that I was assuming that the cleric could turn once per round all day long, and the other players were assuming that he could only turn once per day. And you should have seen the looks on their faces when I realized that. So, there's a long list of spells. Many of them are familiar, some of them are new. And back is like a glossary, kind of index, and a character sheet. And look how complicated it is. I used to just write it on a piece of lined notebook paper, and now it's 2 pages long of all this complicated stuff. So that is 3.5. which I thought at first is better in every way than the older editions, but when I tried to play it, I gradually grew to hate this edition.